So we're going to move swiftly into the best practices during the pandemic. So Marc, what would you be recommending to employers or HR, immigration or mobility professionals during this time?
Well, I think first I would say, you still, unlike the UK, where it sounds like the government has initiated some flexibility for individuals with respect to certain deadlines, no such flexibility has been issued in the United States. So deadlines are still important, and it's still critical that employers and employees adhere to those deadlines to make sure you don't have an individual who falls out of status. And I think whether you're talking about deadlines or compliance issues, obviously this pandemic has created a lot of very unique issues, some very unprecedented issues, and which just simply aren't addressed in the immigration laws, and it's created a lot of gray areas. And I think common sense would say, well, that the government would understand that, and if there are issues where later you need to justify actions, that you would assume that the government would exercise some leniency as they review those situations. I think the issue here is in the United States is up until the point of this pandemic started, we are under an administration who has been taking aggressive steps to put more restrictions into immigration. And so I'm not sure I'd be, as an employer or an individual, I'd be all that comfortable counting on the fact that this administration is going to give a lot of favorable leniency, towards anybody in the immigration world. So I think more important than ever, as best you can, it's important to pay attention to compliance and do what you can to do good faith, best faith compliance, and also adhere to all deadlines to make sure that you're not leaving yourself in a position where you need to ask the government for leniency in a time where they may or may not be willing to do that. But also, I think it's important to continue to file applications as soon as possible. Whether it's a visa application going through a consulate abroad, once those open, or applications that are filed with the U.S. Service Centers of the Department of Labor. Expect delays. And like I said, even though we've seen in some cases there's been some things that seem to be moving a little bit faster, there's definitely things that are moving a lot slower as well. And I think that could be the norm going forward. So be aggressive in filing extensions, any kind of applications as far in advance as you're legally able to do so.
I think that just on that point, it really gives the employees a sense of control and certainty if you're able to get an extension pending, and it can reduce a lot of anxiety for employers as well. So there's certainly another reason to make sure you're filing early.
I would say too, just lastly, for employer representatives, is to stay in very close contact with your foreign nationals. Make sure you understand what they're doing, what their plans are as far as travel plans, working plans, family plans, just so you understand that, because you want to make sure as an employer you're doing everything you can to take all the necessary steps to keep them in status. And so those lines of communication between employers, their employees, and their immigration attorneys need to be very open communication channels, so we can all work together to navigate through these challenges.
Absolutely. And Rahul, from your perspective, what do you think some of the best practices would be?
We are recommending employers to be on top of everything. If there's anything that affects their work, because everything must still be reported on the SMS. So it's important that applications are submitted before the visa expiry date. They must maintain regular contact with the lawyers who are assisting them with the applications. And the Home Office keeps changing rules almost on a daily basis. So it's very important that they keep themselves abreast with all the changes the Home Office updates on the Home Office website. And if in doubt, they can always call the law firm and check with their lawyer. And we are telling employers still to carry out the employer checks, because they can't be relaxed about it. They can do a video call and do all that stuff, but it's very important that everything's done properly. So if the Home Office does an audit down the line, everything should be compliant.
Excellent. Okay, I think there's a huge amount of information for the viewers to digest. So any closing remarks?
Yeah, I would just, I guess, echo what Rahul just said, which again, I think it's important for employers and individuals to stay in close contact with their attorneys, because the more information we have from them, the better able we are to help them navigate these challenges.
And I think from a UK's perspective, I can see Brexit will bring a lot more opportunities for immigration. So it's a matter of time where the lawyers, the Home Office, and everyone, and employers as well, they get geared up to seeing unprecedented levels of work come January next year. Because, like I said earlier at the beginning of this webinar, that EU nationals will require Tier 2 visas. And I see a lot of companies in the UK, in fact, so many companies we work with in the UK have 90% EU population. So it's a matter of time before work picks up. And I know pandemic is, ruining everything at the moment, but there's opportunity and there's light down the line, and we can see that there's a lot going to happen next year.